be who you are. I mean, when they say do nothing, it just means like, don't act, like just be. I also learned to just kind of make these choices, to be another person that was not me, who was working in an office in Scranton. I was so pleased to get to play who is such an interesting character, whether she was female or not. Like, I was not defined by gender. I feel like Meredith was a fantastic, just a wonderful, fully fleshed out character.
What up, it's Mr. X to the Z Exhibit.
What's up, guys? It's Andy Frisella.
This is your boy, Foul Monk.
This is Ryan Serhant.
This is Shingy.
Hi, it's Patrick Benjamin.
Sonia Servitani.
This is Director X.
Hey, everybody, I'm Forbes Riley.
Yo, this is Goldie.
This is Amberly Lago.
This is Chris Voss.
Michael Francis here.
Yo, this is Charlie Tuna.
Hey, what's up? It's Billy G.
And you're listening to The Run
GpG podcast.
Well, I'm going to go hang out and listen to David's next podcast from The Run GpG.
You might hear something you like. Peace.
Our guest today is an actor, singer, and writer best known for her 9 seasons as Meredith on NBC's hit show, The Office. She was also a fan favorite on ABC's Dancing with the Stars and wowed viewers as Starfish on The Masked Singer. She's also co-starred recently with Rita Moreno in The Prank, currently streaming on Apple TV. Other credits include appearances on Young Sheldon, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and New Girl, plus indie films like the hit Golden Arm. She's also a proud alumni member of Chicago's Second City, which is really cool. I'm excited to welcome the one and only Kate Flannery to the show. Kate, welcome here.
How are you?
Yeah, good to connect with you. Great to have you. I was looking forward to this one, and I'm glad Anne connected us because I'm always interested by someone, with a life in performing arts and a resume like yours, the longevity for sure. And you're also a fan favorite on more than one show, which is interesting. So where do you start with Kate Flannery? That was my question. So I thought we'd start at the beginning. I know you're from Philadelphia, home of the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, by the way.
Right, I still have green nails. Yeah.
I think everybody was pulling for the Eagles there. But so take us back to the beginning, maybe. How did growing up in Philly and maybe your family life shape your sense of humor and your decision to pursue a life of comedy and eventually acting? Maybe give us an early Flannery family biography.
I am the youngest of 7 kids in an Irish Catholic family. My grandparents are from Ireland. My grandfather started a bar. My dad took it over. It was an Irish pub in the Germantown section of Philadelphia. And we got to go on Sundays when the bar was closed. We were supposed to help clean, but we were really dancing to the jukebox, dancing, in the windows, drinking soda and eating Slim Jims and crap and just running around the bar. Literally, it was a big square bar. And it was awesome. It was great.
So that's where it started. That's what I'm assuming your sense of humor developed from that, spending time with those people, right? The bar will do that.
My dad was so funny behind the bar. It was a big square bar. I just remember he would pour a drink, land a joke, and then just keep moving, So it was fantastic.
Very interesting. But then you discovered improv at some point, right? What first attracted you to improv and sketch comedy? And then how did you find your way to Chicago? Before I ask specifically about Second City, how did you end up in Chicago?
When I graduated college, I was in a comedy group in Philadelphia for a little bit, and we were mostly doing sketch. We had a couple improv games, but my aunt sent me a ticket to check out Second City and to stay with her, and that totally changed my life. When I went, I figured this out years later, but the first time I ever went to Second City, Jane Lynch was understudying for Bonnie Hunt, who got married that day, who came back in her wedding gown and did the improv set, the late part of the night in her wedding dress, which was insane. And her wedding party was like Mike Myers. There were so many people that were there that night that informed so much of my future. It was just one of those crazy things. But I thought, I don't know what's going on, but I want to be a part of this. So I studied there, and then I got hired by the touring company. And I was also working in another theater with some crossover folks at the Annoyance Theater with people like Andy Richter and Jane Lynch. So. Oh,
very interesting. Second City, it kind of lives in folklore, right? It's a legendary comedy institution, and so many iconic comedians have been a part of that alumni as well. So the question is like, what did you learn, or what were some of the, key lessons, defining moments from your experience there?
Well, the thing about doing improv is that you have to really commit to being a good partner first. It's not about shining and showing off as much as it is forwarding the scene, helping create a pattern, just saying yes, really just being a team player. And, I'm the youngest of 7 kids, so I grew up in an ensemble. So ensemble life was like so much more, it just speaks to me louder than doing stand-up. I've done a little bit of stand-up. I hosted a stand-up show for TV Guide Network for women for 2 years called Stand Up in Stilettos back in 2012. And it was fun, but I just feel like, I had a comedy act for 20 years with a guy named Scott Robinson from Chicago. We were a dying lounge act called the Lampshades, and we did that. We just did that up until COVID. But I was still doing my act while I was in the office, doing a lot of comedy festivals and a weekly or biweekly comedy show in Hollywood. So, I just feel like I always have to be on stage with the live audience. When you write something, you want to know if it works. The only way to know that it really works if you're doing comedy is to hear a live audience. They're your roadmap. Yeah, and they don't lie. They don't laugh if they mean it.
Well, it's funny because, the comics we've had on the show talk about, the years they put into developing their tour,
Yes.
or a 1 hour special. Sometimes they develop this stuff for years. They try the little bits and they do these like 10, 15-minute, stints to see if they actually work. So it's kind of interesting to see the process, or the craft, right? Do you have a favorite, Do you have a favorite memory from Second City?
God, you know what? I remember racing from doing a radio show to a touring company gig that was just in the suburbs, and like I was running out of gas. I had borrowed the director's car. It was like an old Volvo station wagon or something. I like literally just made it. The show had already started without me and just made it into a sketch. But I just remember being so informed by so much talent, and just roaming the halls with people like Stephen Colbert and Steve Carell and Neva Dallas and Amy Sedaris. Like there were so many just soon to be giants, in my opinion, and people that really made me laugh, and people who have just done really well. But their comedy has always spoken to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, it's it's an institution. It's iconic in some ways. So it's really interesting to hear that that was a big part of your history. But you eventually ended up with the big break. I guess we'll call it the big break, I'm assuming. Like, how did you end up on The Office? Like, where were you? What were you doing at that time? Maybe can you walk us through the audition process and how you ended up landing the role of Meredith Palmer on The Office? How did that happen?
I will say, back in 1991, I was up for consideration for SNL and had lunch with Lorne Michaels and did not get it. My friend got it. My friend was at the lunch as well. We were doing a show together, Melanie Hutzel. And I just remember I did not get that. And it just took 13 short years to get The Office after that, which is a long time. But I was 40 when I got The Office. I was still waiting tables. I was doing my comedy act. I had done some off-Broadway with great reviews, but was still hustling, still had to wait tables. And also just because I could never just wait for the phone to ring. I have to be busy. So working in restaurants really spoke to me on many levels, but it just kept me sane. So when I auditioned for The Office, initially I had auditioned for the part of Jan, Michael Scott's boss. I did not get it. I did not do the pilot. They decided to replace an actress that was in the ensemble. They changed her name. And so I remember going in for the audition and they said, no makeup, no joke. Absolutely. Usually like no makeup meant like lip gloss and some mascara. They were like, absolutely no makeup, like wipe off whatever you've got. And I remember I went in there, one of my Second City friends, Rose Abdu, she's a regular on the show Hacks. She was there and I thought, oh my God, she books everything. Because I think she was recurring on the Gilmore Girls at the time. And she just had done, I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get this. Rose Abdu's here. She books everything.
Yeah.
And I remember the casting director said, just don't do anything. You're in a documentary, so do not do anything. And I did it, and I got home. By the time I got home, I got a call to go to Sunset Gower Studios and do it again without anybody else in the room. And then by the time I got home from there, which was probably 20 minutes later or half an hour later, I found out I got the part. And I wasn't exactly sure what I was getting myself into, but I knew I'd replace somebody. So I was sort of like, well, I hope it works. I hope I work out, because when you replace somebody, there's always the fear that you will be replaced. So
Right.
my first season was, I was very happy to be there. And I thought the process was so interesting. They literally asked us to bring paperwork. So we were at our desks for quite some time. Like they were figuring out, like, so literally if the camera came to you, you were already working. So it's really an interesting exercise in just being. And
No
that,
kidding.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I guess your background in improv would help with that. Do nothing, just I guess react at some point, right? That was kind of
Well,
the.
be who you are. Be what
Mhm,
I mean. When I say do nothing, it just means like don't act, like just be, and that's a
mhm.
hard thing to do, especially for funny people. So I will say the first season, first two seasons, I had many wonderful producers and directors who kept reminding me to bring it down, less, take it down, because I have a very expressive face, and I played in the back of the house. I played very big theaters. So I was grateful that they kept reminding me instead of just replacing me. So I learned a
Yeah,
lot, my proximity to the camera. And, I also learned to just kind of make these choices for, to be another person that was not me, who was working in an office in Scranton, with an annoying boss and maybe people she didn't pick to work with, but she's stuck with. So,
yeah,
I was so pleased to get to play someone who's such an interesting character, whether she was
mhm.
female or not. Like I was not defined by gender. I feel like Meredith was a fantastic, just a wonderful, fully fleshed out character.
Yeah. Well, that was I had a question about character development and the creative process. You're kind of describing it there, but like how did you develop the unique quirks and the comedic style there? Because it was a very unique character. Like, did you have any creative freedom in creating her character at all?
Physically, I did. Like, and I also felt like wardrobe, I kept sort of leaning into more like dressing like a kindergarten teacher who happens to be a
Hmm.
dr- I had super comfortable shoes, and I just felt like every once in a while I was like, no, this is too much like and someone else on the show, like this looks too much like Phyllis, or too much like Angela, like whatever the pieces were. And I kind of like asked for a little quirkier. It was a little, I had these crazy denim skirts and these jumpers and earth shoes and
Yeah.
so wonderful. But yeah, I just love the whole vibe of, and I kind of like the barrettes. I sort of leaned into that whole too, like again, dressing kind of like a child,
Yeah.
who's a grown adult in her 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was such an interesting character, and like the show itself, like it's one of the most popular shows ever. And I think that even today, I believe we don't call it reruns anymore. We don't call it the streaming, right? The streaming is more popular, I think, now than when the show was running. I
We were
think
the
it's
number one show during COVID. We were the number
it,
one show streamed. I mean, it's crazy. Literally, like people couldn't go to their real office, so they came to ours. I mean, there was like a little article about it in the New York Times. I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. So we made people feel normal, which is hilarious.
you were on the show for 9 seasons, but in your show, what was it about it that made it so special or popular? Like, what was the secret sauce there?
We were the first documentary style, regular comedy on TV.
Hmm.
Like, and that format obviously has been copied since, but our producers really had to fight, particularly season one, to get it, to make sure that like they were true to the art form of what Ricky Gervais had created. Because I feel like NBC was kind of scratching their heads initially. And you have to understand, this was we were shooting it in 2004, and that was when Friends was ending and the show Joey, which was the spinoff, was on the air. So when we started airing in the March of 2005, Joey was on the air. So
Hmm.
it was a different kind of vibe. So we were totally the unicorn. But people really leaned in, and Steve Carell did the 40-Year-Old Virgin movie between the pilot and beginning of season one, and then it came out at the beginning of season two, and it just like we had him. So I feel like his popularity really changed our trajectory, because
Hmm.
he was the star of our show, and he did. Trust me, in the first couple seasons, like he does most of the heavy lifting. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, He's a genius performer, and you're touching on it, but there was some obvious chemistry among the cast, on camera, obviously, but not just on camera. I would assume off. So I was going to ask you what it was like working with Steve Carell. What was it like working with him?
He's just a really awesome guy. He's very shy, but also like his ego is not wrapped up in making it all about him. He made sure that the show was the star, not him, in the process.
Yeah.
So I feel like no one really could act out. If he wasn't acting out, then no one else could,
Yeah.
Because the problem with giving actors a job is that they start believing that they are like somehow bigger or more important than they should be. But I'm sort of the attitude police. I'm sort of the attitude of gratitude. And when that's not the environment, it can really be troublesome because you sort of fall victim to a little tyranny from the start. Never a tyrant. Never. The best.
Yeah, you hear stories about that sometimes, from...
It happens.
Yeah, it happens. I was going to ask you, too, about Rainn Wilson, right? He played Dwight, who was a very popular character on the show. What was it like working with Rainn?
I think Rainn is so wonderful. He's such a wonderful actor. I will say I think he's more like Dwight than anybody else is like their character. Because he knows so much about Battlestar Galactica already. Like he kind of came in and he's a nerd. Obviously he's not Dwight Schrute, but he just embodied this wonderful, wonderful oddball. And I loved doing scenes with him. The best.
Yeah, the funny thing about The Office is everybody's got a favorite character, right? Everybody's got a favorite character. So yeah, I was curious about him. And John Krasinski, this is wild because I was going to ask you about John Krasinski because he eventually played, the spy thrillers.
Jack Ryan?
That's it. Yeah, he played the Jack Ryan, which is crazy because when they said that he was going to play Jack Ryan, you're like, wait, how can, to go from The Office to Jack Ryan? I'm like, I got to watch this. And it's one of the best series. I think it was on Amazon, but it was fantastic. He did a really good job.
He's an amazing actor. He really grew up on The Office. He was so young when he booked the show in his 20s. And I feel like he's done so much in the business. I mean, he's an amazing director. I mean, Quiet Place and Quiet Place 2 are insanely creative and wonderful and spine tingling and like have you on the edge of your, I mean, he's really amazing. I feel like whatever he wants to do, he's smart enough to know he can really do it.
Yeah. You had such a talented cast around you, and I was wondering a little bit more about like behind the scenes memories. So over 9 seasons, you must have a treasure trove of memories or, special moments. Like what's one thing that you think about when you recall your time from The Office? Is there something that stands out, something you'll never forget or something that makes...
so many things. I have to say, like, I remember being at the Emmys when we were first nominated and we won and I had worked the governor's ball at the same space. I think it was like 12 years before or 11 years before. And I was like, and I remember I dropped my silverware on my napkin and I went to pick it up and Oscar looked at me and he goes, Kate, it's not your job. And I was like, oh my God, this is nuts. Because I'd been a waiter for so long.
Oh, wow.
But also just like, I mean, there's so many moments literally on set where even if I didn't speak, I just felt like I was a part of something so important and so special. And you just don't laugh, like just don't ruin it. Don't ruin it. But particularly like the Michael Scott's last, his last couple episodes when Steve was leaving the show, there were so many, bittersweet moments. I mean, Michael's last Dundies was just so moving and wonderful and funny. And, he proposes to Holly and he lights so many candles that the sprinkler system goes off and we all get wet because we're all watching in the kitchen. And I also remember, singing to Michael Scott at the last Dundies. And I mean, it was just, and Steve just, he made the choice for Michael Scott to cry at that moment. It's crazy. But I also remember when we did Office Olympics, they were playing the theme to the Olympics and Michael Scott comes back in from buying a condo. So he missed all the antics that we had all day because we were like basically playing because he wasn't there, playing all these Office games. Office Olympics, and he started to cry when they played the Olympic theme, which I thought was so hilarious. And we didn't know he was going to do it. He just did it one take. And I thought, oh my God, this is so funny. just these crazy choices he would make that were just so right on and so like so real and so insane and so wonderful.
I didn't watch the show religiously. Like I've watched the show obviously, and I watched season over season, but I don't watch the streams like so many people. Like the sound engineer here, like there's a couple episodes that I do remember really well, like the when Dwight was doing the fire drill.
Yes.
Friggin' hilarious. Like that was incredible. And then there was the one we were talking about it here was when you guys were doing the run for the cure when he was carb loading with the pasta.
Right, because Michael Scott hit Meredith with his car, so he was
those. It's a special episode when it sticks in your brain like that so many years later. But
absolutely, I say that was one of my favorite moments too, is to get to do my own stunt when Michael Scott hits Meredith. I literally got to roll on the car, hit the glass, roll off onto the giant pad below, and I was like, "Oh my god, that was so fun!" It was crazy.
Wow, you did that, hey?
I did. It's funnier when you know it's the person. I mean, you can see me. My face is against the glass. You can see it's me.
They let you. There was no problem with it. They said, okay.
Yeah, I did a bunch of my own stunts. I didn't set my hair on fire or shave my head, but pretty much everything else. I mean, we had stunt doubles, but I always wanted to try it. I was like, why not? What the hell?
Why not? Wow. Any memorable guest encounter? Because I feel like people would come up to you and probably address you like you're Meredith, right? So does that still happen?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
part of the culture. People,
yeah.
People, it's fine. We have really great fans.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be a TV bad guy on as popular show as The Office.
Yeah, no kidding, right? They think you're that person. You never know, right? Like there's some people they just can't, disassociate you from the character sometimes.
It's fine. I mean, I'm a bar owner's daughter. I'm kind of an alcoholic Nepo baby, if you really do the math.
Yeah, it's not a far departure.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyways, moving along. So that was your time in The Office. It's fantastic. I really appreciate you breaking down those memories and talking about it. We truly appreciate it. But you moved on to some, guest starring experiences, right? Like opportunity. You popped into shows like Young Sheldon, as we mentioned, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, New Girl, American Housewife. So
I just did an episode of Night Court, the new Night Court.
That crazy. I'm old enough to remember the original Night Court. Do you remember the original Night Court? Do you remember the original?
I do. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I guess I think we're this, we might be the same age.
Totally. And I got to do an episode of the new Magnum PI. So I got to go to Hawaii, which was really fun. So that was a blast.
Oh my God. I'm feeling old now, Meredith. Magnum PI with Tom Selleck, the Ferrari 308.
Right. Hernandez is so wonderful. And we had a great time. I mean, it was also like, I worked 3 days, but I was there for 10 days because of the schedule. I'm like, thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
That was really fun. But yeah, I had a great time on Night Court. I got to work with John Larroquette, and I was kind of his love interest, sort of, or his fake love interest.
Amazing. Well, like, add it to the list, So I was going to ask, like, which guest starring gig did you like the most, or how do you prepare for those creatively? Like, because a lot of those are a big departure from Meredith, right?
And it's very last minute. I actually had a great time on Brooklyn Nine-Nine playing Mean Marge. That was really fun. And they had like a plaque of my character. They dedicated their break room to Mean Marge, the head of the sanitation department. And so like that plaque was up the whole rest of the series. So funny. I was like, I'm still there. Yeah, so fun.
So what a fun job, hey? It's a fun job. You get to work. Yeah, super cool. And then you did some independent work, right? Independent film work, right?
Dozens of indie films.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have there's a couple streaming right now that I just did that just came out. There's one with John Heder who played Napoleon Dynamite, Plan V. It's I think it's on Amazon and Apple. It's on a bunch of platforms. And actually Tom Berenger's in the movie, and I got to tell Tom that I was a featured extra in the movie Eddie and the Cruisers when I was in high school. You can actually see me at one point.
Wow.
I told you that we're in the movie. I was like, hey guys, this could be you in 40 short years. I shot that movie in 1982, and here it was 2022. And I'm like, this is nuts.
Yeah. Well,
Nuts.
Kate Flannery trivia. She was in Eddie and the Cruisers.
Yep.
I think I watched that on HBO when I was
hilarious. Right?
10 years old. I don't know. It's wild. This is so interesting to think about. So Golden Arm, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, it's such a funny movie if you get a chance to see it. Oh my God, it's a lady arm wrestling movie. Lady arm wrestling. Those are those words, not my. I don't know. But yeah, it's really hilarious, and it's a buddy movie. It's a road trip movie. It's hilarious. Like really, you will not be sorry if you watch it. I don't even think it's 2 hours. Just find Golden Arm, and you'll be happy.
I'm gonna watch it now. This is interesting. You also made a splash on Dancing with the Stars, right? And I know the commitment to that is tiring and rigorous. We had somebody on the show that was on Dancing with the Stars. I can't remember who it was exactly, but somebody was on there. And I remember it's a big commitment, right?
It's huge. And I was 55 when I got it. So I was like out of shape at the time. And, I had a family member that had passed away right before that. And I was like, I can't even believe that. I mean, I literally was driving home from my sister's funeral. It was so like, I was like, I don't know if I could do this. And it was actually a wonderful experience. Despite my grief, I felt like it was really great to be physical, and I had the best partner, Pasha Pashkov. It was his first season, and it was just really interesting. And I got to do a big part of the tour that year. I was supposed to do 54 of their 80 shows. I did 45, and the tour ended up shutting down early because of COVID. But I was like, it was kind of a religious exercise. I had to, we had played huge houses. I don't think we played anything smaller than 2,500. And I got to do a comedy monologue at the beginning of the show, live, the touring show, and then do some of the dances from the show. And I got to host at Radio City and the Grand Ole Opry and the Fox Theater in Atlanta. Like it was a really big bucket list for me. It was great.
Yeah. Well, the question is, what's more tiring and demanding, touring with Dancing with the Stars or the day-to-day filming of a sitcom or film?
Well, Dancing with the Stars is a whole thing because you are, as my boyfriend said, I feel like you're gone, but you're right here. Because I was so committed, and it's tough to be judged. It's the part I'm like, oh my God, it gets a little in your head. I was the oldest female for most of the season, so all the other women were in their 20s, and I was 55. So a couple times I got a high score, and they sort of give me a little side eye in the ladies' room. I'm like, work harder. You're like half my age. Get to work.
Yeah.
But it was validating because I felt like if anybody thinks they don't have another chapter in them, they really, you got to give yourself a chance. Everybody's taking them. Don't take yourself out. I mean, the world might take you out, or somebody else might take you out and say you can't do that, but don't tell yourself you can't do it. At least give it a shot.
Yeah, I love that advice. That's fantastic. You don't look that old though, Meredith.
Oh God, you're insane.
Kate, you don't look that old. Kate, I've got Meredith right here.
Got a lens trap. I actually tour with Jane Lynch as well right now. We toured for years. We did a Christmas album called A Swingin' Little Christmas. So every December, usually it's November, late November, we go out for at least 3 weeks. And we have a non-Christmas show that we do as well. That I think we're gonna do some dates this fall. But yeah, we do a bunch of different cities. I know we'll be in Philly this year. We usually do New York. Last year we did 6 shows at Steppenwolf in Chicago. We've played Joe's Pub. We've played a lot. We've been at the Carell Hotel in New York too. And
oh wow,
it's really a blast, and it's really fun because it's our own creation. Like we write our jokes, and it's. I always say it's like the Rat Pack, but with a couple of broads. That's her from Glee. I'm a little Meredith from The Office, and I always say that she's like the nun cracking me on the knuckles, and I'm sort of like the sheepdog. It's a blast. It's really fun.
That's great. What'd you call it? That's great branding. It's like the Rat Pack. What would you say for female? What did you say?
With a couple of broads.
Oh, yeah. A couple of broads. That was it. Okay. Well, you said it.
I did.
You did say. And then working with Rita Moreno, right? In The Prank.
So awesome. Yeah, The Prank is this wonderful horror movie comedy, dark comedy. And that is also on a bunch of different platforms if you get a chance to see it. But we got to go to South by Southwest with it, which was so fun. And I got to do some press with Rita. And I mean, she's an inspiration. She's like going to be 94 this. I mean, she's unbelievable. I'll have what she's having. Like she's unbelievable.
Legend.
Yeah, and also didn't complain, didn't ask for a chair, and it's like did every, and she had a great time. She played a bad guy, and she usually never does, and she was wonderful. She's a great
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
She could
Yeah.
hilarious.
Very interesting. Well, so what are you working on now that excites you the most? I mean, you mentioned the tour there that you were just talking about, or what should fans have to look forward to in the
Yes,
coming?
please. Yeah. Or you can just get the album on iTunes, or if you want like a CD, you can get it on Amazon. If you may have to get a new car, but if you have a CD player, you have to. But I'm also recurring on a new cartoon that's on Sunday nights. I think it's on right after The Simpsons. It's called Universal Basic Guys. It's about Philly. But yeah. I got a few things in the pipeline, a few things I can't talk about, but yeah, everything's good. And then I still have a commercial with a bunch of people from The Office for AT&T, so that's really fun.
Oh, neat. Yeah,
Yeah.
get the band back together.
Yeah, it was really fun. There was 6 of us, and we had a blast. It was like no time had passed at all.
Yeah,
Right.
very cool. Now, this show does get introspective and retrospective, when we take a look at people's careers and the arc of their life, looking back on your journey, right? From Second City to The Office to reality TV and films, what are you most proud of, like professionally or maybe personally? Like how do you want to be remembered in the world of, comedy, entertainment, everything you've done over your career?
Well, I mean, I think The Office is such an achievement on so many levels, and also I just feel like, the thing about being a woman in comedy, we don't get there aren't as many jobs for women, and I don't know if there ever will be. I hope so, but I don't see it. It just feels like they still write more parts for men. So the thing is that to be still in the game and to still be positive and enjoy it. But like I said, I feel really proud of The Office because even though Meredith didn't have a lot to say every episode, I feel like when I showed up, it was strong and memorable, and they gave me really great stuff to do. So to me, like that, I feel like less is more in a way. So in some ways, you can have a bigger impact if as long as you go for it. So, yeah, I mean, of course, and I'm doing some writing now, and I've written for with Jane and I and my comedy act, The Lampshades, and I'm always proud like when you actually create something that's yourself, which is awesome. But I'm also like, I feel like I'm always looking for the low douchebag factor in everything I do. So I'm just trying to have some fun, and I'm not trying to step over anybody's dying corpse to get ahead, and and whatever. It's like if that creates less opportunities, then so be it. But I feel very lucky. I met my boyfriend on The Office. He's a photographer, TV photographer. He used to shoot Seinfeld. He used to shoot The Golden Girls. He used to shoot everything, Friends.
Wow.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, he's Jennifer Hudson's photographer now, and he's been working on some sitcoms as well. He just shot the SNL 50th, so we were there, which was
Oh, okay, cool. How was that?
it was so fun. I actually
Yeah.
got to the concert at Radio City, which was awesome. And actually, that's the first time I'd been back at Radio City since I hosted there with Dancing with the Stars. So that was really cool. But we had a blast. Like we were
Yeah.
really enjoying every moment. And luckily, we were with some. I saw a lot of old friends and some comedy friends. And
Oh yeah.
it was
Yeah,
it
we
was great.
we just had Jay Moore on the show. Do you know Jay Moore? He
I
was on.
don't know him personally, but I love Jay Moore. Yeah, he's so
Yeah.
talented.
Yeah, he was on SNL for a few seasons. So he walked us
great.
through. Yeah, and he walked us through the process of what a week on SNL looks like. So that was pretty fun. And then we had Dane Cook on recently, and he hosted it. I think 2
Yeah.
or 3 times, something like that. SNL, Second City, like they work their tentacles into all the talent, the shows, the movies. Like everybody's had some sort of connection to one or the other.
I remember I was doing a show. Actually, I was working in Second City, but I also worked at The Annoyance, and it was the first time Lorne Michaels had come to The Annoyance Theater to look for talent. And he came with Quincy Jones, and they watched our show.
Wow.
Crazy, folding chairs and this like really super,
Yeah.
basic theater.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I mean, I feel like we have a lot to be proud of.
Oh, no kidding. Like you should, look at, I mean, what a career you've had. It's incredible. And the people and what you've done and, your art has lived on in so many ways. And like being a part of something that is more popular now than when it aired is just like, that just tells you all you need to know about the magic that happened there. Here's a question. What advice would you have for, an aspiring comedic actor, especially those who want to break into improv and make a name for themselves in TV or film? Do you have any advice for someone like that?
Do whatever you can to get in front of people. And I think live is, I mean, I know people are creating content and putting it online, which is awesome, but I feel like you also have to be in front of a live audience because that's really how you'll find out how to find new depths and heights and how to heighten things and feel the audience like supporting you, because it's, I just think it's an important piece. And don't worry about the things you don't get. Do not like go to therapy, whatever you have to do to take care of yourself, but take care of yourself and and just realize that what you're doing is sacred. Following your dreams is sacred. So if you have people who are super judgy in your family, don't text them or pick up the phone right before you have to do something that's really difficult. Like keep yourself safe, like and keep the criticism at bay. I just feel like you have to take care of yourself because if you don't, nobody else will.
That's great advice. That's great advice. Okay. Final 2 questions, and these are fun ones, Kate. These are fun. If you could have dinner with any 3 people in history, past or present, who would they be and why? Yeah.
Carol Burnett.
Carol Burnett.
Neil
There we go.
Ball, Rosalind Russell.
Okay, so that's 3 people we've never had before. So you said Carol Burnett.
Yes,
Lucille Ball.
and Rosalind Russell.
See, you know what's crazy about that is I feel like you're cut from the Carol Burnett, Lucille Ball cloth. Honestly, like I'm not just saying that. Like I feel like
I'm a redhead. I get it out of a bottle because I also feel like sometimes in casting, if you have red hair, people go, okay, she's the fun. Okay. It's like a category I put myself in happily.
Yeah. Well, you know what I did? I put on these red glasses because I knew you'd be wearing red. It's aesthetic. When they do the editing on the sizzle stuff, it'll be aesthetic. Okay, and here's the final question, Kate.
Yes.
Here's the final question. You're opening a bottle of champagne 1 year from now, celebrating something you've accomplished. What'd that be?
I think it's going to be that I've finished my book because I'm working. Yeah.
Let's go. Okay, fantastic.
I-
There you go.
It's an intense process. I'm not really talking about it that much because I was afraid to talk about it for first few months. Now I'm like, oh my God, I got to come clean because it's the self-examination part is it's intense sometimes. Like I'm my own worst critic, so I got to set that critic up.
Yeah, I'm writing my first book too. It's been a year and a half in the process. I'm getting done, but I've been writing. It's hard. It is really hard. It is really hard.
Yeah. And everybody listening to it is like, oh boy, yeah. Because it's not a money grab. I'm not writing it with any. I don't have a ghostwriter. I want to do it myself.
I love it. Yeah, fantastic. I mean, really well done. Well, Kate, where can the people find you, follow you? Anything we need to know about you? Where do you want the people to go and all that stuff?
Instagram at The Real Kate Flannery. I'm on Facebook, but I'm not great on Facebook. I'm not great at responding, but yeah. Those are the main things. And then, always look for Jane Lynch and I. If you go to janelynchofficial.com, she'll always have the tour info first for our tours. That's kind of that's
Okay.
how you go to your local bar. I might be there. I have I'm doing a bunch of Comic-Cons and sometimes I even do these office nights in the summer. There's a few of us that do these minor league events where we throw out the first pitch and nobody's throwing garbage at me yet, so I'm good.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's amazing.
You're the best. Thank you so much. Take good care.
Thanks so much, Kate. Thanks so much. Peace.